Today I'm going to discuss the causes of an anterior pelvic tilt, and I'm also going to describe to you exercises that you might be doing in the gym that are making it worse. What's going on, everybody? How you doing? It's Blake Bowman here with GuerrillaZen Fitness, and in today's video what I'm going to be talking about are anterior pelvic tilts. More specifically, what causes these and what exercises you might actually be doing in your workout routine that are making it worse. To begin, anterior means towards the front. An anterior pelvic tilt, it just means that if this is your pelvis, this is the front of your pelvis, it means that you're tilted forwards, okay? So what that looks like in a human being is your butt will stick out, your back will arch excessively, and your belly will kind of stick out in front of you. Now, this is a very common postural problem that can lead to a lot of lower back issues. Now, there are three big, contributing causes to the formation of an anterior pelvic tilt, and I'll go over those right now. The first one is excessive sitting. If you're sitting for long periods of time at work or you're driving, that's one of the biggest, causative factors of an anterior pelvic tilt. The second most common thing is sitting wrong. And the third most common thing that's a cause of an anterior pelvic tilt is actually standing wrong. Okay, so elaborating on point number one, sitting for long periods of time, what that does is it puts the hips into what's called a flexed position, which means the knee is up like this, and that basically, in a nutshell, what that does is it causes tightness to form in the hips, and that muscular tightness pulls the pelvis into that, tilted position. What causes that tightness to form as a result of sitting is a principle known as tissue adaptation, and that just really means that your body and its muscles and connective tissue adapt to the positions that we hold for long periods of time. If you're somebody that's sitting for more than 2 hours a day, then this is probably happening to you. And just remember that you're also sitting when you're driving, and lots of times people are sitting at home too when they're relaxing. So this is, this chronic sitting is not just happening at work. Okay, so building off of number two, people sitting wrong as a common cause. Lots of people actually make their anterior pelvic tilt worse or cause it in the first place by actually trying to sit with proper posture. This is made even worse if they're in this position doing this thing for, prolonged periods of time over 2 hours. So what a lot of people do when they're sitting in an attempt to actually have better posture is they'll arch their back excessively, they'll jam their butt way into the, backrest of a chair, and they'll overextend their body, okay? They'll do something like this. Okay, does this look familiar to anybody? Okay, people will do this because it feels better than sitting like this, right? Sitting like this, they become very aware of their poor posture, but when they do this, they feel like they have better posture because their back muscles are all tightening up, okay? This is not good though, because this is one of the main ways that people sit that contributes to an anterior pelvic tilt, especially when it's done for prolonged periods of time. What you actually want to do is identify your butt bones, okay? They're called ischiums, okay? They're like pointy bones, and you actually want to sit like right on those things, more like this, okay? You do not want to roll them back like that and jam your butt way back into the chair and really tighten up your back. So tilt the pelvis a little bit out of that, position this way, okay? So tuck it under a little bit more and sit like right on those points. Now the third cause, building off of point number three, standing wrong. Now when you're standing, you should have a slight contraction of your ab muscles, your core, as well as your butt muscles. What that does is it basically, by turning those on and flexing those areas, it helps to keep your pelvis in a neutral position and stops it from slanting forwards. So if you're not doing that and you're just like really relaxed, it's really easy to just allow your pelvis to dump forward. And when you do that, if you're standing like that for long periods of time, just like how I described earlier, tissue adaptation will start to occur, and then you'll kind of get stuck, you'll kind of get casted in that position. Okay, so now that I've gone over some of the most common causes of an anterior pelvic tilt, I want to show you some exercises that you should actually be avoiding doing in the gym if you don't want to make it worse. One of those exercises is sit-ups, okay? Sit-ups, especially on the decline, really any exercise that involves trunk flexion, which is kind of moving forward like this. And the reason for that is people with an anterior pelvic tilt will typically feel that exercise in their hips as well as their thighs. And if you're feeling it there, then you're likely getting muscular contraction in those muscles. And if you are, then you're contributing to the muscular imbalances that cause an anterior tilting of the pelvis in the first place. So avoid doing exercises exercises where you're crunching up. If you want to work your core, do an exercise that keeps your spine in a neutral position as well as your hips in a straight position. Something like a plank is a much better alternative. And actually, if you do a plank with what's called a posterior pelvic tilt, which means you've tucked your pelvis underneath, then that can actually stretch your hip flexors while strengthening your core, and that'll actually help you to correct your anterior pelvic tilt, okay? And that exercise looks like this. So to do this, basically, you just get into a normal plank position, elbows down, you extend your feet back like you're going to do a push-up. But if you have an anterior pelvic tilt, you're going to be likely extending from the back like this, okay? It's going to feel very uncomfortable. So to fight that and actually start to correct the anterior pelvic tilt, you do the exact opposite. You posteriorly tilt the pelvis, okay? And what that looks like is this. Same setup, but once you're in the position, you tuck that pelvis underneath you like this, and you really squeeze your butt as hard as you can. You're gonna find that not only does that correct your anterior pelvic tilt or help you to correct it, but it's also, you're gonna feel this a lot more in your core and a lot less in your lower back. Another leg exercise that really makes anterior pelvic tilt worse are leg raises, okay? Any version of leg raises, whether you're on a Roman chair, your arms are posted up and you're raising your legs out like that, or if you're on the ground doing leg raises, okay? Any exercise really that involves hip flexion where you're pulling your legs up or your knees up. Again, for the same reasons why sit-ups are bad if you have an anterior pelvic tilt, those exercises, those leg raise exercises, are gonna activate the hip flexor muscles, and you're really gonna feel that, you know, in the hips, in another muscle, you know, inside of your abdomen called the iliopsoas. Basically, if you're activating those muscles, again, you're contributing to the imbalances that cause an anterior pelvic tilt in the first place, so stay away from those. In a nutshell, if you really, any kind of core exercise that you're doing, or any, you know, exercise that you're doing at all, if you're starting to feel a lot of contraction, like in this part of your hip or like in here or coming down your legs, then you're likely activating some of the hip flexors and you're going to be making your anterior pelvic tilt worse, so you might want to consider avoiding those exercises. Okay, so today I went over all the common causes of an anterior pelvic tilt, exercises that you want to avoid. Now, if you want to actually start doing exercises other than the plank that are actually going to help you fix your anterior pelvic tilt, then I put together something really special for you. What I put together is a lower body and core strengthening workout that's not only really going to strengthen up your legs and your core, but it's actively going to help you fix and correct your anterior pelvic tilt at the same time. Now, I put this whole workout together for you for free. All you need to do is open up the description down beneath this video and click the first link available in the description. What that will do is it will take you to my webpage where I'll ask you for your email. As soon as you give me your email, I'll send you straight over to the workout. Now, if you're watching this on mobile or any other device that makes the description hard to view, then you can also get to that same page on my website by clicking this button right over here. Just hover over that and hit download. If you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, go ahead and do that over here. And if you want to see more videos that I've made about anterior pelvic tilt, then go ahead and check this video out right over here. Other than that, as always, I'll see you next time.